The alarm bells rang through the bridge of the Star Runner as Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive structure floating in space before them. It was bigger than any space station he had ever seen, dark metal twisted into impossible shapes. That hurt his eyes to look at for too long. The thing had been drifting around the dead star for who knows how long, waiting. "Sir, the Coalition fleet is keeping their distance," reported Lieutenant Ben Clark from his station. "They want us to go in first." Jake nodded. Of course they did. Humans were still the newest members of the Galactic Coalition, and everyone knew what that meant. When something dangerous needed checking out, send in the humans. They were useful. That way, Dr. Lisa Bennett looked up from her scanner readings, her face pale. "Jake, this is definitely builder technology. Look at these energy patterns." She showed him her screen, pointing at the strange waves of light that pulsed across the display. "I've studied builder ruins for 10 years, but nothing like this. This station is still alive somehow." The builders were a mystery that had puzzled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had left behind ruins on dozens of worlds, strange structures made of materials that could not be damaged or understood. The alien races spoke of them in whispers, calling them the ancient ones who could break planets with their weapons and bend space to their will. Then one day they had simply vanished, leaving behind only their empty cities and the fear they had planted in every other species. "Commander Turner, what do you think?" Jake asked his military advisor, Alex Turner. Studied the readings with the careful eye of a soldier. "The structure is scanning us, sir. I can feel it somehow. Like it's trying to decide what we are." He paused, looking uncomfortable. The Coalition ships are staying back for a reason. Their history books say builder stations would attack anything. That came too close. On the main screen, Jake could see the other ships of the Coalition fleet. The Saurians had sent their largest warship, but it hung back nearly 1,000,000 kilometers away. The insectoid ships of the Hive buzzed nervously in formation, while the crystal vessels of the ethereals glowed with what Jake had learned meant fear. "Dr. Bennett, how long would you need to study this thing?" Jake asked. "Days, maybe weeks. The symbols on the hull alone would take me hours to translate." "But Jake, if this is really an active builder station—" She trailed off, but Jake knew what she meant. Active builder technology had never been found before. Everything they knew about the builders came from dead ruins and broken machines. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Coalition command ship," Clark announced. The screen flickered and showed the face of Zethkar, the reptilian saurian who spoke for the Coalition in this sector. His yellow eyes were narrow with worry. "Captain Morrison, have you completed your scan of the structure?" "We're still gathering data," Jake replied. "Dr. Bennett needs more time to study the markings." "Time is something we may not have," Zethkar hissed. "Our sensors show the structure's power levels rising. In our histories, this happened only once before, and an entire star system was destroyed." Another face appeared on screen, the multifaceted head of Vexthu from the Hive. When the insectoid spoke, it was with the voice of 1,000,000 minds linked together. "The humans should withdraw. The builders' hatred for organic life is well documented. Many worlds still bear the scars of their weapons." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. The Coalition had sent them here precisely because they thought humans were expendable. Now they wanted to pull back just when things got interesting. "We're not leaving until we understand what this is." "Captain," Dr. Bennett said quietly, "I'm picking up something strange. The symbols on the hull are changing. They're rearranging themselves into new patterns." Jake moved to her station and looked at the readings. The ancient markings that covered the alien structure were indeed shifting, flowing like water across the dark metal surface. "What does it mean?" "I don't know. It's like the station is trying to communicate, but the language keeps changing." "Wait, ... She stopped, her eyes going wide. "Jake, some of these symbols, they look familiar. Not builder familiar, but familiar. Before Jake could ask what she meant, the entire bridge was filled with light. The station had activated. Something and beams of energy were washing over the Star Runner. Jake expected weapons fire, expected his ship to be torn apart like the story said always happened when builder technology woke up. Instead, the beams seemed to be scanning them, gentle and curious rather than hostile. "Sir, the station is downloading our computer systems," Clark reported, his voice tight with worry. "It's looking at everything, our files, our databases, even our entertainment programs. Should I raise shields?" Turner asked, his hand hovering over the weapons controls. "No," Jake said, though he wasn't sure why. Something about this felt wrong, but not dangerous wrong. More like puzzle wrong, like they were missing something important. "Jake, you need to see this," Dr. Bennett called out. Her voice sounded strange, almost scared. "The station just sent us something. It's a data package, but it's not in any builder language I know." Jake moved to look over her shoulder as she opened the file. The screen filled with images, moving pictures that showed the interior of the station they were looking at. But it wasn't empty like they expected. Figures in spacesuits were moving through the corridors, working at control panels, building and repairing machinery. "Who are they?" Jake asked. Dr. Bennett enhanced the image, focusing on one of the figures. The spacesuit was clearly visible now, and Jake felt his blood go cold. The design was unlike anything the current galactic races used. It was functional, practical, built for humans who needed to work in space for long periods. The helmet design, the way the arms and legs were proportioned, even the tool belt around the waist. "This is impossible," Dr. Bennett whispered. "These suits, they're human designs. But this recording has to be thousands of years old." The figure in the recording turned toward the camera, and for a moment Jake could see through the helmet's faceplate. The features were clearly human, but somehow different. Older maybe, or evolved. The eyes held an intelligence that seemed both familiar and ancient. "Sir," Clark called out from the station, "I'm getting reports from across the galaxy. Builder sites everywhere are activating. All of them are responding to human ships in the area." Jake stared at the screen, at the impossible recording of humans working in a builder station millennia before humans were supposed to have left Earth. The implications were staggering, but before he could process them fully, another alarm sounded. "Captain," Turner said, his voice grim, "the Coalition fleet is powering weapons. They're targeting us." "What? Why?" "Unknown, sir. But we're about to find out if the builders really did protect their secrets with planet-killing weapons." Jake looked back at the recording, at the human face staring out at him across thousands of years. Whatever the truth was about the builders and humanity, he had a feeling their peaceful exploration of this ancient station was about to become much more complicated. The station's lights grew brighter, and Jake realized that somewhere in the depths of the ancient structure, something vast and powerful was waking up after a very long sleep. Dr. Ryan Cross rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the data for the 100th time. The recording from the builder station showed humans working in technology that should not have existed when Earth was still covered in ice. He had been studying human history for 20 years, and nothing in his knowledge could explain what he was seeing. "The dating is definitive," he said to the crowded room aboard the Coalition science vessel. "The station recording is at least 3,000 years old, maybe older. But the humans in those suits, they look like us. Not ancient humans, not primitive humans. They look like people I might see walking down the street." Senator Maya Rodriguez sat across from him, her face showing the strain of the past 3 days. Since the discovery, she had been fielding angry calls from every alien government in the Coalition. "Dr. Cross, I need answers. Half the galaxy thinks we're lying about our past, and the other half thinks we're some kind of sleeper agents for an ancient empire." Jake Morrison watched from his chair near the window. His ship was still docked with the builder station, but now it was surrounded by both Coalition and human vessels. Everyone wanted answers, but nobody seemed to have them. "The problem is our records," Dr. Cross continued. "We have detailed histories going back thousands of years, and nowhere do they mention space travel or advanced technology. According to everything we know, humans were barely using metal tools when these recordings were made." Dr. Bennett spoke, up from her corner of the room. I've been working on translating more of the station's records. The language is strange. It's like ancient human languages, but evolved. As if someone took old Earth languages and developed them over centuries in isolation. That's impossible, Cross said. Languages don't develop that way unless populations are separated for long periods. And we know we're all human populations. We're during the time period in question. High Arbiter Kalanoth, the ancient crystalline being who represented the oldest race in the coalition, had been silent through most of the discussion. Now his crystal body pulsed with slow, thoughtful light. Perhaps your records are incomplete. What do you mean? Senator Rodriguez asked. The crystal being's voice was like wind through stone. I am old, even by the standards of my people. I was alive when the builders last walked among the stars. I remember the final days. Everyone in the room leaned forward. Kalanoth rarely spoke of the ancient times, and never about the builders. They were terrifying, the crystal being continued. Not because they were evil, but because they could not be stopped. When they decided to build something, they built it. When they decided to change something, they changed it. They looked at problems and found solutions that others could not even imagine. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The description sounded uncomfortably like human behavior. Their ships were unlike anything we had seen. Not elegant like our vessels, not specialized like others. They were practical, sturdy, designed to be repaired and modified as needed. They could take any situation and adapt to it. That still doesn't explain the human connection, Dr. Cross said. Does it not? Kalanoth's crystals shifted to a deeper blue. Tell me, Dr. Cross, when humans encounter a problem they cannot solve with their current tools, what do? They make new tools, Cross answered automatically. And when those tools are not enough, they make better tools. And when better tools are still not enough? Cross was quiet for a moment. They change the rules of the problem. Yes, Kalanoth said. The builders did the same thing. We thought they had died or moved beyond our galaxy. But what if they simply changed the rules of their existence? Doctor. Bennett looked up from her translation work. I've found something else. The station has been monitoring human development on Earth. It has detailed records going back thousands of years. Population movements, technological development, even genetic changes. It's been watching us. Watching us how? Jake asked. Long-range sensors, automated probes, maybe observation posts we never detected. But Jake, the data is incredibly detailed. It knows things about human history that we don't even know ourselves. Senator Rodriguez stood up and began pacing. This is insane. You're suggesting that an ancient human civilization has been secretly watching Earth for thousands of years. I'm not suggesting anything, Bennett replied. I'm telling you what the data says. Dr. Cross pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's archaeological record. I've been reviewing our excavation sites with new eyes, looking for anything that might have been dismissed as natural formations or misidentified artifacts. The display showed several locations around Earth marked in red. These sites all contain materials that match builder technology, but they were always explained away because the dating was impossible. Impossible how? Jake asked. The materials are too advanced for their time periods, but also too old to be from any known human civilization. We always assumed they were natural crystal formations or unusual metal deposits. What if they weren't? Bennett asked quietly. The room fell silent. Outside the window, Jake could see the builder station, its dark hull now pulsing with faint lights. Since the human ships had arrived, the ancient structure had become more active, systems coming online that had been dormant for millennia. There's something else, Dr. Cross said. I've been comparing the facial features from the recording with our genetic databases. The bone structure, the proportions, they're not just human. They're specifically descended from certain human populations that existed on Earth during the same time period. Which populations? Senator Rodriguez asked. That's the strange part. Multiple populations from different continents. Groups that shouldn't have had contact with each other, but somehow their genetic markers are all present in the recorded individuals. Jake. stood up and walked to the window. The builder station seemed to pulse brighter as he approached, as if responding to his presence. "Dr. Bennett, you said the station has been watching human development. Does it say why?" Bennett scrolled through her translations. "It's hard to interpret, but there are references to preparation and inheritance, like it was waiting for something." "Waiting for what? For humans to reach the stars?" A new alarm sounded through the ship. Jake turned to see Lieutenant Clark rushing into the room. "Sir, we're getting reports from across the galaxy. Every builder site that's been discovered is now active. All of them are responding to human presence, but they're not just turning on. They're connecting to each other." "Connecting how?" Senator Rodriguez demanded. "Unknown, ma'am. But the energy readings suggest they're forming some kind of network. A network that's been dormant for thousands of years and is now coming back online because humans are finally in space." High Arbiter Kalinov S crystals pulsed with rapid, agitated light. "I have seen this before." In the final days, builder installations across the galaxy began synchronizing. We thought it was preparation for war or evacuation. But what if it was preparation for return? Jake felt the pieces of a vast puzzle clicking together in his mind, but the picture they formed was too incredible to believe. "Dr. Bennett, can you access the station's main records? The deep archives?" "I can try, but Jake, some of those files are enormous. It could take days to download and weeks to translate." "Do it," he said, "and send a message to Earth. I want every archaeological site that contains unusual materials re-examined immediately." Senator Rodriguez looked at him with worry in her eyes. "Jake, what do you think we're going to find?" Jake looked back at the builder station, watching its lights. Pulse in patterns that seemed almost like a heartbeat. "I think we're going to find out that humanity's first journey to the stars wasn't 300 years ago. I think it was 3,000 years ago, and somehow we forgot. In the depths of space, ancient machines that had waited patiently for millennia began to remember their purpose, and across the galaxy the children of the stars were finally coming home." Colonel Rick Palmer stood in the control room of what had once been considered the most dangerous builder weapon platform in the galaxy. Now, 3 days after humans had first boarded it, the massive structure hummed with gentle energy around him. The weapons that had terrorized alien nightmares for centuries seemed almost friendly. "Sir, you need to see this," called Sergeant Amy Foster from across the room. She was standing at a control panel that had activated the moment Palmer had touched it. "These weapon controls, they're designed for human hands. Look at the grip spacing, the button placement. It's like they were made specifically for us." Palmer walked over and examined the console. Foster was right. The controls felt natural under his fingers, intuitive in a way that alien technology never was. When he placed his hands on the main firing controls, holographic displays appeared showing target options and weapon status. Everything was in a language he couldn't read, but somehow understood. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered. According to Coalition records, this platform destroyed 3 Saurian battle fleets when they tried to approach it 200 years ago. "Maybe it only attacks when it feels threatened," Foster suggested. "Or maybe it only attacks non-humans." Before Palmer could respond, his communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Dr. Amy Foster aboard the science vessel. Not his sergeant, but the geneticist who had been studying the organic samples found in builder ruins. "Colonel Palmer, I need you to return to the main fleet immediately. I've made a discovery that changes everything." 20 minutes later, Palmer was standing in Dr. Foster's laboratory, staring at genetic sequences displayed on multiple screens around the room. The scientist looked exhausted but excited. "I've been analyzing the organic traces found in builder structures across the galaxy," she explained. "At first, the DNA was too degraded to make sense of, but I've managed to reconstruct partial sequences from dozens of sites." "And?" Palmer asked. "They're human, Rick. Not similar to human, not evolved from human ancestors. They're human DNA sequences, but from populations that shouldn't have existed when these structures were built." Palmer felt his world shift slightly. "How is that possible?" "That's not the strangest part," Dr. Foster continued. I've been comparing these sequences to our current human genetic database. The builder DNA contains genetic markers from populations across Earth, but combined in ways that suggest interbreeding between groups that were separated by thousands of miles and hundreds of years. I don't understand. Dr. Foster pulled up a new display. Imagine you took genetic samples from ancient Egyptians, Vikings, Maya, Chinese dynasties, and African kingdoms, all from their peak periods across different centuries. Then imagine somehow combining all those populations into one group. That's what builder DNA looks like. Palma stared at the data, trying to process what he was hearing. Are you saying the builders collected humans from different time periods? I'm saying the builder population was somehow descended from humans taken from across Earth's history. But Rick, there's more. I found something else in the samples. She pulled up another screen showing cellular structures. The builder humans were modified, enhanced. Their DNA shows adaptations for space travel, radiation resistance, extended lifespans. Someone took human genetic material and improved it for life among the stars. Palmer's communicator buzzed again. This time it was Jake Morrison calling from the original builder station. Rick, you need to get over here right now. We found something incredible. An hour later, Palmer was standing in a vast chamber deep inside the builder station. The room was filled with dozens of stasis pods, each one designed for a human-sized occupant. Most were empty, but a few still showed signs of power. We found this chamber after the station's main computer came online, Jake explained. Dr. Bennett, says the writing calls it the Sanctuary of Inheritance. Dr. Bennett was working at a control panel near the center of the room. The station's computer has been trying to communicate with us, but the language barrier is enormous. However, I've managed to access some basic functions. What kind of functions? Palmer asked. Historical records, genetic databases, and something called the Awakening Protocol. Jake moved to one of the active stasis pods. Through the transparent cover, Palmer could see a humanoid figure in deep preservation sleep. The features were clearly human, but like the recordings they had seen, there was something evolved about them. Jake, that thing could be thousands of years old, Palmer said. According to the station computer, this individual has been in stasis for 3,847 years. The life support systems have been maintaining perfect preservation all this time. Dr. Bennett looked up from her work. The station wants to wake him up. Absolutely not, Palmer said immediately. We have no idea what we're dealing with. Actually, we do, came a new voice from the chamber entrance. Keeper Jackson 7, the synthetic representative of the machine collective, rolled into the room on its mechanical legs. The machine collective has been analyzing data fragments for centuries, trying to understand builder technology. We have found references to this exact protocol. What kind of references? Jake asked. The builders did not disappear, Jackson 7 explained in its precise mechanical voice. They scattered. Our data suggests they divided their population across time and space, leaving guardians in stasis at key locations throughout the galaxy. Guardians? For what? Palmer demanded. To guide their genetic descendants when they finally reach technological maturity. The room fell silent except for the hum of ancient machinery. Palmer looked around at the stasis pods, realizing they might be looking at humanity's oldest ancestors waiting to meet their youngest descendants. There's something else, Dr. Bennett said quietly. The station has been monitoring our conversations and analyzing our genetic signatures. It says we're compatible. Compatible with what? With the inheritance protocols. The station believes we're the descendants it was left to guide. Jake moved closer to the active stasis pod. If we wake this person up, what happens? Jackson 7's optical sensors focused on the pod? According to our data fragments, the Guardians were left with specific knowledge about threats the builders faced. Knowledge they intended to pass on to future human generations. What kind of threats? Palmer asked. Unknown, but the data suggests something that required the entire builder civilization to sacrifice itself to prepare for. Palmer felt a chill run through him. The idea that an advanced human civilization had existed thousands of years ago was shocking enough. But the suggestion that they had faced something so terrible they had scattered across time itself was terrifying. "Sir," Foster called out from where she was examining another control panel. "I'm reading massive energy buildups across the galaxy. Every builder installation is synchronizing with this station." "What does that mean?" Jake asked as Dr. Bennett looked up from her translations. "I think it means the network is preparing for activation. All of it. Every builder structure, every hidden installation, every dormant system. Palmer made a decision that would change everything. Wake him up." "Rick, are you sure?" Jake asked. "No," Palmer admitted. "But sitting here wondering isn't going to give." U.S. answers. "If this person really is human, if they really were left here to guide us, then we need to know what they know." Dr. Bennett moved to the stasis pod controls. "The awakening process will take several hours. The system needs to slowly bring him back from deep preservation without causing cellular damage." "Do it," Palmer said as Bennett activated the awakening. Sequence. Lights began to pulse throughout the chamber. Across the galaxy, on worlds that had known only silence from builder ruins for millennia, ancient structures began to sing with power. The inheritance of humanity was about to be claimed. But none of them yet understood the price that had been paid to leave it for them. Dr. Ben Parker watched the impossible readings on his temporal physics scanner and shook his head. The builder station wasn't just old, it was displaced in time itself. The energy signatures showed evidence of technology that could move through time like a ship moved through space. "Admiral Sullivan, you need to see this." He called to the human fleet commander who had arrived with reinforcements 3 hours ago, Admiral Kate. Sullivan studied the readings with the sharp eye of someone who had commanded ships for 20 years. Around them, the bridge of the human flagship buzzed with activity as reports came in from across the galaxy. Builder ships were powering up everywhere, but they weren't attacking anyone. They were waiting. "Explain it to me in simple terms, Doctor," Sullivan said. "The builders had time travel technology," Parker said. "Not just the ability to see through time, but to actually move through it. These energy readings show massive temporal displacement events like they move their entire civilization backward and forward through time. That's impossible. 6 months ago, I would have agreed with you. But Admiral, the evidence is clear. The builders didn't just leave our galaxy, they left our time period." Before Sullivan could respond, Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system from the ancient station. "Admiral, the awakening process is nearly complete. The Guardian is about to wake up." Sullivan looked out at the builder station, now surrounded by both human and alien ships. The Coalition fleet was keeping its distance, but she could see their weapons were powered down. Even they were curious about what was going to happen. "All ships, maintain position but be ready for anything," she ordered on the station. Jake stood next to the stasis pod as its systems hummed to life. The figure inside was beginning to show signs of movement. Ancient preservation fluids draining away as the awakening sequence progressed. "Vital signs are strong," Dr. Bennett reported from her position at the medical scanners. "Heart rate increasing, brain activity approaching normal levels." Colonel Palmer watched from across the chamber, his hand resting near his weapon, but not threatening. Whatever this being was, it looked human enough. The question was whether it would act human. The pod's cover hissed open with a sound like escaping air. The figure inside drew a deep, shuddering breath and slowly opened its eyes. They were definitely human eyes, but they held a depth of knowledge that seemed to span centuries. The Guardian sat up slowly, looking around the chamber with recognition rather than confusion. When he spoke, his voice was hoarse from the long sleep, but the words were clearly in an ancient human language that Dr. Bennett recognized. "He's speaking Proto-Indo-European," she whispered. "A language that died out thousands of years ago?" The Guardian's eyes focused on her, and he switched to accented but understandable English. "You are linguist. Good, communication will be easier." He looked around the chamber, taking in the faces of the humans surrounding him. "I am called Guardian, though my birth name was lost long ago. How long have I slept?" "Nearly 4,000 years," Jake answered. Guardian nodded as if he had expected this. Then you are the ones we prepared for, the children of the scattered seeds. He stood up from the stasis pod, moving with the careful balance of someone testing their body after a long rest. You have questions. I have answers, but first, tell me of the current threat level. Threat level? Palmer asked. The Devourers. The enemy that consumed our civilization. How close are they to this galaxy? The humans exchanged confused glances. We don't know what you're talking about, Jake said. Guardian's face showed surprise. Then relief. Good, then we have time still. He moved to one of the chamber's control panels and placed his hand on it. Immediately, holographic displays filled the air around them, showing star maps and data streams. I must explain quickly, Guardian said. The civilization you call the Builders was not the first human presence in this galaxy. We were the third. The third? Dr. Bennett asked. Every 50,000 years, something sweeps through this section of the universe. We called them the Devourers, though they were not alive in any sense we understood. They consume civilizations that reach a certain level of technological advancement, converting all matter and energy to their own purposes. Guardian manipulated the holographic display, showing a timeline stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. The first human civilization reached the stars 200,000 years ago. They were destroyed. The second attempted to fight, and also fell. The third chose a different path. What path? Admiral Sullivan asked through the communication link. Sacrifice and preparation, Guardian replied. We developed temporal technology and made the hardest choice any civilization has ever made. We scattered our people across time itself, ensuring human survival while preparing our descendants for the eventual return of the Devourers. Jake felt his world spinning. You're saying you time-traveled your entire civilization? Not traveled, dispersed. Some went backward in time to restart human development on Earth under different conditions. Others went forward to prepare future positions. A few, like myself, remained in stasis to guide the descendants when they reached sufficient advancement. Dr. Parker's voice came through the communication system. Guardian, I'm reading massive temporal energy signatures from your technology. The scale is incredible. Guardian nodded. We built a network across the galaxy, installations that could survive the Devourers and support our scattered people across time. Each one designed to activate when humans return to space with the proper genetic signatures. Why didn't you just evacuate to another galaxy? Palmer asked. Because the Devourers follow advancement itself. They track technological signatures across vast distances. Running only delays the inevitable. But if a civilization appears to destroy itself and regress to primitive levels, the Devourers move on to other targets. Guardian brought up new displays, showing Earth's history. The humans sent back to Earth were given specific genetic modifications and cultural programming. They were designed to develop along certain paths to eventually reach space travel, but with crucial differences in their approach to technology. What kind of differences? Dr. Bennett asked. Adaptability over specialization, practical solutions over elegant ones, the ability to work together despite differences. Guardian looked at each of them in turn. The traits that made humans seem primitive to other species are actually engineered advantages. Jake stared at the displays showing human development. Across thousands of years, our entire history was planned? Guided, not planned. Free will remained intact, but certain genetic and cultural tendencies were enhanced. The goal was to create humans who could face the Devourers with advantages our previous civilizations lacked. Admiral Sullivan's voice came through clearly. Guardian, what advantages? The ability to adapt builder technology to human needs rather than being constrained by its original design. The capacity to form alliances with other species instead of conquering them. Most importantly, the willingness to sacrifice individual advancement for species survival. Guardian moved to another control panel. The network is now fully active because the sensors detect that humans have reached the necessary development level and formed stable relationships with other galactic civilizations. It is time for the inheritance to be claimed. What inheritance? Jake asked. Every piece of technology, every weapon, every ship that the Builder civilization created over millions of years, all of it designed to be operated by humans with your specific genetic and psychological profiles. The other species fear Builder technology because it was never meant for them. Palmer looked around the chamber full of stasis pods. How many Guardians are there? Across the galaxy, perhaps 1,000, each with specific knowledge and responsibilities. I am the Guardian of Military Doctrine. Others oversee technology, diplomacy, science, and culture. Dr. Bennett stepped forward. Guardian, when will the Devourers return? Guardian's expression grew serious. The temporal calculations suggest within the next 50 years, but this time we will be ready. This time, humanity will have allies, advanced technology, and most importantly, knowledge of what we face. Jake looked out at the stars through the chamber's viewing port. What do we need to do? Learn, Guardian said simply. Accept your inheritance. Unite the galaxy under human leadership not through conquest, but through the trust you have already begun to build. And prepare for a war that will determine whether organic life continues to exist in this part of the universe. The ancient human smiled at his descendants. The long sleep is over. The real work begins now. 6 months after Guardian's awakening, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and marveled at how much everything had changed. The Star Runner was no longer just a human exploration vessel. Builder technology had merged with human engineering to create something entirely new. The ship could now cross the galaxy in days instead of months, and its weapons could protect entire star systems. Captain, incoming transmission from the Coalition Council, reported Lieutenant Clark. They're ready for the final vote. Jake nodded and activated the main screen. The faces of alien leaders from across the galaxy appeared before him. Over the past 6 months, these beings had gone from fearing humans to looking to them for leadership. It had not been an easy transition. High Arbiter Kellenoff spoke first, his crystal form glowing with calm blue light. Captain Morrison, the Crystalline Collective has reviewed all the evidence. We vote to accept human leadership of the Combined Defense Force. One by one, the other species added their agreement. The Saurians, who had once withdrawn their trade agreements in fear, now offered their strongest warriors. The Insectoid Hive pledged their manufacturing capabilities. Even the Proud Energy Collective agreed to share their advanced shield technology. It's unanimous, announced Senator Rodriguez from her position at the diplomatic station. All 12 species accept the Defense Alliance under human command. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Guardian had explained that this moment would come, that the other species would eventually understand they needed human leadership to survive what was coming. But knowing it would happen and experiencing it were different things. Thank you all, Jake said to the assembled alien leaders. Together, we'll be ready for whatever threatens our galaxy. After the transmission ended, Jake walked through the corridors of his transformed ship. Builder technology had changed everything about human vessels. The walls seemed to pulse with living energy, responding to the crew's needs before they were even spoken. Weapon systems that had once required dozens of operators now worked with single human thoughts. It was as if the ancient technology recognized its makers after thousands of years. Dr. Bennett met him in the main laboratory, where she had been working with Guardian to translate the vast archives of Builder knowledge. Jake, you need to see what we've discovered about the Devourers. The holographic display showed a 3-dimensional map of nearby galaxies. Dark spots marked areas where the Devourers had passed through, leaving behind only empty space. They consume everything, Guardian explained from his position near the display. Not just technology or life, but the fundamental energy that holds matter together. When they finish with a galaxy, nothing remains but empty space. How do we fight something like that? Jake asked. Not by trying to destroy them, Guardian replied. Our ancestors tried that approach twice and failed. The Devourers adapt to any weapon used against them, becoming stronger with each attack. Dr. Bennett highlighted different sections of the map. But Guardian's people found a different approach. Instead of fighting the Devourers directly, they learned to redirect them. Redirect them how? Guardian manipulated the display to show. Energy flows between star systems. The Devourers follow paths of least resistance through space, consuming civilizations that broadcast their advancement too loudly. But they can be guided around areas that appear empty or primitive? Jake studied the map, beginning to understand. You're talking about hiding entire civilizations. More than hiding, Guardian said. The Builder Network can create artificial dead zones, areas that appear empty to Devourer sensors while actually containing thriving civilizations using shielded technology. Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the communication system from the command ship. Guardian, how long would these shields need to hold? The Devourers spend approximately 1,000 years consuming a galaxy before moving on to the next target. If we can maintain the illusion that this galaxy has already been consumed, they will pass by without stopping. Dr. Amy Foster spoke, up from her genetics station. But Guardian, that means hiding billions of people across hundreds of worlds for 1,000 years. How is that possible? It was always the plan, Guardian replied. Every human genetic modification, every alliance you have built, every piece of builder technology was designed for this moment. Humans have the adaptability to live in hidden colonies. Your alien allies have the specialized skills needed to maintain the deception. Jake looked around at his crew, human and alien, working together with builder technology. What do we need to do? Guardian activated a new display showing the entire galactic network. 377 builder installations across. The galaxy must be activated simultaneously. Each one will create a localized dead zone while maintaining life support for hidden colonies. The human fleet will coordinate the activation. And if it doesn't work? Admiral Sullivan asked. Then organic life in this galaxy ends? Guardian said simply. But Jake, this plan has been 3,000 years in the making. Every variable has been calculated. Every contingency prepared for. Over the following weeks, Jake watched as the greatest coordination effort in galactic history took place. Human ships, now enhanced with builder technology, traveled to every corner of the galaxy. Alien colonies were relocated to specially prepared hiding sites. Ancient builder installations were activated for the first time in millennia. Colonel Palmer led the military coordination from a massive builder command station that had been hidden inside a dead moon. All positions report ready, he announced during the final briefing. 377 installations standing by for simultaneous activation. Dr. Bennett had been monitoring the galaxy's outer sensors for weeks. Jake, I'm detecting the first Devourer scouts at the galactic edge. They're still 6 months away, but they're definitely coming. Guardian stood at the center of the command room, his hands resting on controls that connected him to every builder installation in the galaxy. It is time, he said. Jake, as the human commander, the final activation must come from you. Jake moved to the master control console. Around him, screens showed hundreds of worlds where billions of people were taking shelter in underground cities and shielded colonies. The entire galaxy was about to go dark, hiding from a threat that had destroyed 2 previous human civilizations. All stations, prepare for network activation, he announced to the galaxy-wide communication system. Standing by, came responses from across the stars. Jake placed his hand on the activation control. The system recognized his genetic signature, the culmination of thousands of years of careful breeding and preparation. Network activation in 3.2. Now. The galaxy went dark. From space, every inhabited world suddenly appeared. Lifeless energy signatures vanished, communications ceased, even the stars seemed dimmer. But beneath the surface, in hidden cities and shielded colonies, life continued. The Builder Network had created the perfect illusion of extinction. Guardian monitored the network status as Devourer scouts swept through the galaxy's outer regions. They're scanning the dead zones, he reported. Energy readings show they're finding nothing of interest. Months passed. The Devourers moved through the galaxy like a dark tide. consuming the fake energy signatures the Builder Network fed them while the real civilizations remained, hidden beneath layers of advanced shielding. "They're leaving," Dr. Bennett announced after nearly a year of hiding. "The main Devourer force is moving toward the next galaxy." Jake felt relief wash over him as confirmation came from across the galaxy. The plan had worked. Billions of lives had been saved through the sacrifice and planning of humans who had died thousands of years before they were born. Guardian placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "The immediate threat is over, but vigilance must continue. In 50,000 years, they will return." "Then we'll be ready again?" Jake said. "Yes," Guardian smiled. "Because you are the children of the stars, and the stars have always watched over their own." As the galaxy slowly emerged from hiding, Jake realized that humanity had finally claimed its true inheritance. Not just technology or knowledge, but the responsibility to protect all life in their corner of the universe. They were no longer the newcomers to galactic civilization, they were its guardians, just as their ancestors had always intended them to be.